Snicker of Magic, Chapter 24. My Aunt Cleo says that only fools run away from what they fear. Fear always finds you no matter what, she says. And it growls louder and grows bigger the longer you run away from it. That's one reason I decided to run to Stoneberry Elementary on the morning of the duel instead of hitching a ride in the pickled jalapeno. I thought running at my fears might make me feel brave, and it did. A little bit. The other reason I decided to run was because I wanted to tell Jonah about my BlackBerry memory. And I wanted to tell him about my own sweet amends. Here's what I didn't take into consideration. Stoneberry School is farther away from Cleo's apartment than I realized. Also, running a long distance was making me sweat. I slowed to a jog when I saw Jonah waiting for me on the sidewalk in front of the school. His hair was its usual every-which-way mess, but his button-down blue shirt didn't have a wrinkle to be seen. He was tugging at his red necktie as I came up beside him. "Pumpernickel," I called out. "Flea," he grinned. "You picked a good day to be late." "You thought I'd changed my mind, didn't you?" He raced for the front-end auditorium together. "You thought I'd ditch you." "I knew you'd come," Jonah said. "No point in backing out now." But then I saw the Stoneberry parking lot, which was so full that folks were parking their cars on the playground and all the way up and down the sides of the streets. "Wow," I heaved. I wiped the sweat off my lip. I wiped my sweaty bangs away from my forehead. "Do I stink like sweat?" I asked Jonah. "You smell normal," he laughed. "You look fine. You look pretty." I was so nervous that I didn't even get embarrassed over his compliment. Cleo's surprise was a new dress she'd made for me. The dress was pink, which didn't thrill me at first, but she said if I wore sneakers with it, I'd make the dress look pump pink, and that sounded kind of awesome. My shoes squish-popped all the way to the auditorium doors. Miss Divinity Lawson had strung a banner over the entryway that read, "Magic happens here." As soon as I walked through the door, I knew it was true because it seemed like everybody in town had turned out for the duel. Divinity Lawson was setting up flower arrangements on the corner of the stage. Ponder and Oliver, who were in charge of refreshments, had set up an entire dessert booth in the back of the building. Jewel Pickett worked the room, socializing with her customers. Virgil Duncan sat in the front row, holding what appeared to be a very large remote control with a small revolving satellite. Elvis Phillips was sharing a bag of popcorn with Charlie Sue. The thought of leaving them in less than a day made my chest hurt. "You okay, Felicity?" Jonah said to me. I nodded, afraid my words would come out too gravelly if I tried to talk. We pushed our way through the noisy crowd and down the aisle towards the stage, the gargantuan stage. I swallowed hard. The stage was so high that every last person in this auditorium would see me when I dueled. Toast was already up there, preparing his workstation. It'd be hard to win against gourmet grilled cheese made from a clothes iron, but winning had never been my big goal. Toast saw me staring and waved. I waved back, and then he pointed to the design on his blue t-shirt. A llama in a space helmet. "The space llama's his trademark," Jonah reminded me. Then his voice gentled as he said, "Are you about to puke?" "It's possible," I nodded. "Maybe concentrate on your bird instead of that stage," Jonah said. "That's still your good luck charm, right?" "It was," I sighed. "Hope flew the coop a few days ago." Jonah stopped wheeling so suddenly that I crashed into the back of his wheelchair. "Where did the bird go?" Jonah looked stricken. "You were banking on the bird." "I know." I fanned the heat away from my face. "I wished for enough magic to make the air conditioner work. I sent the bird to your dad." Jonah's voice softened. "You did what?" "It doesn't matter. I'll be fine without My words were failing me already, and my face was already red, and my heartbeat was already pounding in my ears. This time my heart didn't sound like it was saying yes. It sounded like it was saying run. More people herded into the auditorium and pressed in around us so close that I felt even smaller than I was. Too small, like a bug nobody sees before they accidentally squish it. "Maybe I shouldn't Jonah Pickett reached out and took my hand. He pulled his red pen from his pocket and clicked it, and then he pushed the tip of it to my wrist, exactly where Hope was before it flew off. "You don't need the bird," Jonah said, and he made a list from my wrist to my elbow. Splendiferous, splendidly, wonder, enchanting. Curious, stalwart, plum pretty, plum awesome, Felicity. There's a bunch more I want to write. Jonah looked up at me, but I'm running out of room. Now who's the word collector? I smiled. There's one word I'm keeping for myself, Jonah said. Wonderstruck. That's how I feel whenever I'm around you. No other word fits. Wonderstruck was full of lightning bolts. I saw it flickering somewhere close to the ceiling, but I imagined it zapping down the middle of my heart too, cutting it in two pieces. One piece might fold into a paper airplane, the other would become an origami bird, and they'd both zoom around the room until they collided. Wonderstruck. My heart would crash against itself and fizzle in a flicker. I think you're wonder-striking too, I said to Jonah. I think you see people way better than they are. I see people exactly as they are. How would I ever say goodbye to the best friend I'd ever had? How could I leave when our adventures were just getting started? Tick-tock, everything I loved was slipping away from me. I had to duel in approximately 5 seconds. I had to leave town in less than 24 hours, all because of that stupid curse. I tried to solve the riddle, Jonah said sadly, as if he could read my mind. After we looked for Florentine, I went home and tried to figure it out. I still don't know what it means. So now you believe in the curse? I asked. Maybe a little bit, he admitted, but I believe in you more. You'll do great today. Part of me wanted to crawl off like a spider word and hide under the chairs, far away from all that crazy. Part of me wanted to throw my arms around Jonah's neck and hug him tight. What I did instead was lean down and kiss Jonah's cheek, fast as a flutter. The kiss popped against his cheek, a bottle rocket kiss. Then I ran for the front row and sat down and stared straight ahead. I was too embarrassed to look at the reaction on his face. Impulsive, I was too much of that. Ridiculous, I was plenty of that too. Opportunist, I smiled. The bottle rocket kiss had as much magic in it as anything I'd ever seen. I might have kept on thinking about it if I hadn't heard somebody holler, "Find us some seats together, Day. Make yourself useful," followed by a wheeze and a cough. I cranked around in my chair to see 2 harnesses, 2 pickles, and 1 Grissom lumbering down the aisle, Aunt Cleo leading the way. She tied her leopard print bathrobe around her red dress. The man following her was Day Grissom. I knew by the way she kept talking to him, but he didn't look anything like the Day Grissom I knew. Day had shaved off his gnarly beard and cut his hair. He looked sharp, no holes in his jeans, shirt tucked in. He looked mighty handsome as far as old people are concerned. "Excuse me," Day said to the Smith family on the middle aisle. "Are those seats down there taken?" But then Cleo pushed him out of the way and said, "Make room, y'all, scoot." Uncle Boone filed in behind Aunt Cleo, carrying his banjo around his back. He wore faded jeans, but he'd pulled a snazzy blazer on over his old t-shirt, and he'd traded his cowboy boots for a pair of Converse. Boone looked different from the first day he wandered into Midnight Gulch, but I'd never seen him look more like himself. Miss Lawson had asked me for Boone's contact information a few days ago. She said she was hoping he'd consider playing at the end of the duel. Truly, I think Miss Divinity Lawson just wanted Boone's phone number. I was happy to oblige regardless. The pickles came last. Mama carried Franny Joe, of course. She still had paint splatters on her arms and had braided a feather into her hair. I watched my whole family, all except Roger Pickle, lodge themselves in the middle row, where they could see me and cheer for me when I took the stage. I could duel if they were with me. I could do anything if they were with me. My fears were monster big, but their love for me was bigger. My fear seems like all the world when it takes hold of me. It's all I dream about, think about, and see, but it was love taking hold of me right then, and love is the whole universe. So wide I can't even see the edges of it. Love is wild and wonderful. Love is blue skies and stardust. I reached for my blue book so I could collect those sentences, and then I realized I didn't bring my blue book, which meant that I didn't bring my poems. Cold sweat trickled down the side of my face. I squeezed my eyes shut and tried to remember the poems I'd written last night. Nothing. I opened my eyes and looked at the gym floor, hoping for a few words, any words, but I only saw letters, as scattered and sparkly as stars in a kaleidoscope. My locket warmed up against my chest. At exactly the same time, Toast Terry plopped down in the seat beside me and said, "What's wrong, Pickle?" But I couldn't answer him. First, I was afraid I'd upchuck if I opened my mouth to say anything on account of my frazzled nerves. But second, and most important, I couldn't focus on Toast long enough to answer. All I could see was the guitar he was holding. "Is that Ramblin' Rose's guitar, his voice crackled happily. Miss Lawson asked her to bring it, said maybe she could play sometime today. But Miss Rose says she's just got acrylics and doesn't want to mess them up, so she asked me if I'd play it instead. Can you believe it? Ramblin' Rose asked me to play her guitar. This guitar is better than grilled cheese sandwiches. Miss Divinity Lawson stepped to the podium and tapped the microphone. It squealed as she said, "Welcome to the Stoneberry Duel. I have a few announcements to make, and then we'll get started. The guitar, the banjo, the locket. My sweet amends." They were all connected. I was connected to all of them. "Did you forget to eat breakfast?" Toast asked. "You look pale." As I concentrated on Ramblin' Rose's guitar, words slid down the taut strings and curled around the frets. September, sorrow, surrender, mistake, memory, threadbare. I swallowed hard against the sudden burning tingle in the back of my throat. "Toast, do you realize this is the first time in 100 years that both of the brothers Threadbare's instruments have been in the same room?" "Awesome." "Felicity Pickle?" Miss Divinity Lawson said. Her voice echoed across the auditorium. "Come on up. You can start us off."